I want to hear it from Mike, I'll tell you. Isn't he something else? Do you get this kind of treatment all the time? You get to listen to this guy? I'm so tired of listening about Seabiscuit going around that rail. I don't know whether we can make it, John. If that introduction kept up, I don't know when we were ever going to get up. Mike, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think Democrats are live and well in Dubuque, Iowa. I want to tell you. I'm looking out over these faces, and I bet this morning someone said, it's Saturday. We're going to have a great rally down there at 1:30, and we're going to see John Kerry, the next Democratic president of the United States. People have enthusiasm. People have life. People are ready to go in Dubuque. Mike, I want to tell you, I want to say how much I appreciate being back in Dubuque. As Mike has mentioned, I remember being here in Dubuque, and my brother ran in 1960. Mike and I were talking about Ed McDermott, who was so instrumental in the course of that campaign. And I remember the wonderful response that Iowa gave in sending 39 of its 50 or 44 delegates to the National Convention in support of President Kennedy. I remember the great response you gave to my brother Bob in 1968. I can remember, if it wasn't for Iowa, I wouldn't have gotten the kind of introduction that Mike just gave me, because you let me continue to be one of the great legislative leaders. And I want to thank everyone here in Iowa for giving me that opportunity to be able to do so. Now we're back here for John Kerry, and I want to ask of you, you know, you can have 3 out of 4. 1960, 1968 for Bob. Give a pass in 1980. Are you going to do it for John Kerry? You're going to have 3 out of 4, and I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to love Iowa. I'm going to love you. Let me thank you so much for being here, and you know, you got to love you. Are you glad to see me? Now, are you really glad to see me? Well, I feel a lot better, because tonight, the New England Patriots are playing the Titans. And to see who's going to be the Super Bowl champion. I may take another game or 2, but tonight's going to be the key. But I said, oh no, I want to be in Dubuque, Iowa. I want to be in Dubuque, Iowa. And I'm telling you, I want to see every one of you show up at those caucuses, or I'll never forgive you. For the rest of my life, I'll never forgive you. I thank you for being here. I can remember when I first met John Kerry, it was 1971. He said that there were the young veterans demonstrating against the war in Vietnam. There was a young leader from Massachusetts. I remember going over and meeting him in 1971. I can remember that meeting. Young, tall, good-looking, thin, black hair. That was me. I don't remember him. In a very serious way, I do remember him. And I've known him for 35 years. I saw him turn this country around when it was made a mistake in our war in Vietnam. And then, most importantly, I saw him come to the United States Senate. And when he was elected, John Kerry, and only John Kerry, said he remembered the struggle in Vietnam. He remembered those young Americans that were lost. He remembered America's mistake. But he also believed that there ought to be a period of reconciliation and the restoration of the relationship between the two countries. 17 trips he took over there to bring about the restoration of the normalization of the relationship between Vietnam and the United States of America. He was the only one willing to do it. There weren't going to be any headlines. There weren't going to be any press releases. There weren't going to be a lot of television shows. But you know what that showed to me? That showed a toughness. It showed a determination. It showed a tenacity. It showed to me someone that said they were going to do something was going to do it. It showed to me follow-up. It showed to me steady, constant leadership. That's what it showed to me, my friends. And eventually, with John McCain, under the leadership of President Clinton, they completed that official negotiation. But I will tell you, that was high risk. People are looking for political leaders that are real. Someone that is going to really stand for what they're going to believe in. You're going to hear this afternoon the litany of the things that he believes in that are important for this country. But I can tell you this, that unless we're going to have that kind of determination, we're not going to restore American economy. Unless we're going to have that kind of determination and leadership, you're not going to get the kind of universal, comprehensive health care that is a right for every American in this country. Unless you have that kind of leadership, you're not going to get the kind of education that every child in the state of Iowa and everyone in this country is entitled to. You're not going to get it. But with that kind of leadership, you're not going to fail. I saw John Kerry a little while ago. We were visiting, and I said to John in a quiet moment, I said, John, did you ever think when you were a young man that you would grow up to be a hero in Vietnam, get elected to the United States Senate, and be a candidate for the presidency of the United States, a winning candidate? Did you believe that when you were a young person? He said, no. Wasn't I lucky? So he said, let me ask you a question. He said, when you were a young man, did you ever think that you would grow up to be the uncle-in-law of an Austrian bodybuilder, Republican governor of the state of California? I said, no. But aren't I lucky? My friends in Dubuque, I want to see John Kerry president because I want to have an education president. I want John Kerry because I want a health care president. I want John Kerry because I want to restore our economy here at home. I want a John Kerry because I believe in his steady hand in the national security and defense issues of this country. I'm asking you, are you going to stand with John Kerry on caucus night? Will you be there? Raise your both hands if you're going to be there on caucus night. Raise both hands if you're going to go out and give him a great Dubuque welcome, my friend, our candidate, John Kerry.
Ladies, well, here I am, John Seabiscuit Kerry. How about the conscience of the United States Senate, the lion of legislation, the greatest legislator of our modern times, the United States, the undisputed leader and champion of the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party, Senator Kennedy. As you all know, I come from Massachusetts. Massachusetts is a Wampanoag Indian name. Translated, it means land of many Kennedys. I had a conversation outside that I want to share with you. I was standing out there and I was asked, is it hard to live in the shadow of a great senator like Ted Kennedy? Is it upsetting to you personally to know that you will never have a legislative record as dazzling as Ted Kennedy? Are you jealous of the fact that you have to live with a living legend like him? And it was Teddy asking me the question. I actually met Teddy back in 1962. I was a volunteer in the campaign, used to hold signs. I used to do anything that I could just to learn something about the campaign. This was Ted Kennedy's first campaign for the United States Senate, ladies and gentlemen. He was 17 and I was 5. And we had a great time. I want you to know, about 2 years ago, I called Ted Kennedy and I said, Ted, I've decided to run for the most powerful office in the land. And he said, what? You mean you're going to register to be a caucus goer in Iowa? That's the power you have, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the power you can exercise.